Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to explain a little bit of meditation, the meditation we do, what I recommend, as well as some basic things. The first thing is Patanjali has given us those four higher aspects of yoga, which begins with pratyahara, and then it goes to dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. But he has lumped the three higher ones, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, together under the term samyama. So I'll write that down. This term is basically what Western people mean when they say meditation. This is important to understand. It's three processes, it's not one. It's three processes, according to Patanjali, gives us Samyama meditation. Let's forget this for now. We will go back to where you have to master, is what Patanjali calls pratyahara. Now, pratyahara is a combination of two Sanskrit words, basically a prefix, which is prati, plus a word, ahara, this word is the key word. This word means basically in English consumption. Consumption of what? Consumption through your five senses. Any type of consumption of the word through your five senses is ahara. Roughly in English it means sensual experience. The word prati means against. It means you're not going to do that. You're going to block that. So that's how they come up with this word. This I is converted into a Y in Sanskrit. I forgot the Y here. That Y is inserted here. Sorry about that. So we get pratyahara, but it's actually the prefix prati and the word ahara. So we are going against consumption. So it begins, when you meditate, it begins, let's say this is your head, two eyeballs sticking out on the side. It begins by pulling the energy back into the head, because normally this energy is going out into the world, through the senses. Instead of going out, the energy is going in. This is pratyahara. When you do ahara, the normal existence is, you put the two eyeballs, everything is going out. So this, we want to get rid of that and we want to substitute this. Your meditation should at least master this. But according to Patanjali, this is not meditation. Pratyahara is the fifth part in each stage of yoga. Meditation is Samyama, which is three highest processes. So we're not dealing with that. We're talking about the elementary stage. In meditation, when you finish doing the breath infusion, you should find that the energy is either coming into the psyche or it's contained in the psyche. It's not trying to go out. It's not chasing sense objects outside. So that is the first stage of meditation, is like this. So we will take this out. And we will also remove this, because we're not concerned with this. This is advanced, the Samyama process. We start medication, we should find that the energies are coming into the psyche, coming in. We're no longer chasing out. When we've meditated for some time, and this means weeks, months, sometimes years, then this changes, because the attitude of the psyche changes. When you sit to meditate, you will find that your psyche is not interested even in pulling energy out, in. It's not interested in going out, and it's not interested in pulling anything in. It's just contained. So this circle stops and we end up with this. There's the two eyes. The energy is just contained. It's just in there. This is where you begin to work on who am I? What is in the mind? There's a place in the front part of the head, basically an area, this the equivalent of just this top part here. This is where your thinking and stuff goes on. Always thinking, always working on shit. Okay? Then there's this area about here in the mind in the center where you have a theater. This is where you go to see the movies. This is where you hang out. You like to look at things in the mind. Images, ideas, memories, they come up in the mind and you see them in the theater. You sit in the theater and you watch. The self is off here in the middle, looking at these images in the mind. So now we've stopped this. We're not going out. We're not coming in. You're just sitting inside the psyche, inside the head of the subtle body. This thing where you see the images is called the intellect in Sanskrit. Or buddhi. This container within which this is happening in your head is manas or mind. So we've identified the mind as the chamber. We have the frontal part where there's a lot of riffraff going on. We have the theater where we're always looking at images, scenes, things we imagine, things we remember. The thing that looks at this is supposed to be the self or Atma. However, this self has a shrouding influence around it. It has a covering around it on all sides. According to the Sanskrit, this thing is called ahankar. Basically, ahankar, two words. Aham and kara. Aham is very simple in English. We have the equivalent. It's a pronoun. It means I. And kara means the doer, the person who is going to act. I am the doer. So as soon as this self thinks that it wants to act, it has to engage this I am energy, this identification energy. So I've translated this as the sense of identity. It's just you feel that you have an identification. It's a kind of a feeling. So this is how I've broken down the components at the head of the subtle body. Apart from this, you have sensual influences that come in, and you have the Kundalini life force in the body. You have the memories also. So there's more things in this, but this is a basic outlay. So now that we've contained ourselves and we no longer are trying to go out of the psyche, we're no longer putting energy into the psyche, we're stuck. We're left with the so-called oneness, which is really nonsense because it's not oneness at all. There's things going on in the psyche, and there's Sanskrit words for each of these things. If these things were one, they wouldn't be Sanskrit words. The word buddhi would have no meaning. Okay? So in meditation now, we're done with this process. This is after you graduated out of the basics. You are now stuck with this. You have a problem now. What am I going to do with this? How am I going to bring order to this? So this is still in the stage of pratyahara. You're still working to come to terms with this. Okay. according to the level you're on, your practice is going to be different. So there's two things. There's assignments given by the yoga teacher or by a deity that you should do this type of meditation every day. Like a child goes to school, he gets an assignment from the teacher that he has to work out so many math problems or he has to do so many exercises in English grammar. That's assignment by the teacher. Then the boy may just do things on his own. For instance, when he gets home in the afternoon, he may turn on the TV towards National Geographic. So he's learning now in a vocational way, relaxed way, okay? So what is your assignment? According to your assignment, that's what's going to be happening in the mind. So I can't say, well, this is the assignment, because it depends on the level of the student, what the student is working on. Are you working for the teacher, where he is giving you an assignment, do this? Are you working for yourself, where you have developed an interest in meditation and you have a particular thing you want to solve for yourself? Where is your meditation? So I'm not going to go into too much detail about that because that's a personal thing. But I will discuss Samyama. Again, Patanjali has listed meditation as Samyama. There's a lot of different definitions in the Western countries, but we have to remember what this guy did. And he begins Samyama with Dharana, Dhyan, this is second, and Samadhi. So that's what he has given us. These three things are Samyama. Now, why did Patanjali put three things together? Are these things really added together? No, they're not. What happens is that if you do this proficiently, it flows into this. If you do this proficiently, it flows into this. When you come out of Samadhi, the first stage you go into is Dhyana. And when you're finished Dhyana, when that fizzes out, you will go here and you're back in the material world again, focusing. So it's a progression. It's like a journey on a train from one city to a faraway place. The tracks run a certain way. If you go into that city, you gotta be on that track. And if you're going away from that city, you gotta be on the other track. There's no other way. So this is what Samyama is. So what really are these things? Okay. Dharana is when you are deliberately focusing. But you have to apply your willpower. Dharana means I'm focusing on something that concerns this transcendence, right? But I'm doing it, I have to exert myself. I gotta work in the mind. It's a struggle because my mind doesn't want to do it. There's no cooperation in the mind. It's called dharana. It's that simple. What the focus is, that's what you have to tell me, what your teacher assigned you or what you've assigned yourself in this transcendental situation. So that's stage one. I'm working hard. Stage two, dhyan. What is this? This again is focus. But it's focus that is involuntary or spontaneous. This means that I'm not making an effort anymore. It's just happening. I sit to meditate and I wanted to do this, but I found my mind was doing it. I didn't have to do nothing. I'm smoking a cigarette and my mind is working on it. This is spontaneous ongoing. So the difference, what's the difference between these two things? The difference is here I have to make the effort, I have to work. Here, this is the rich man. He gets money, he doesn't have to do anything. This guy has to go to the job 9 to 5 every day to get money. What is the next state? Samadhi. Samadhi is the same thing for a long time. In Samadhi, this is going on for a long time. 15 minutes, half hour. Generally in meditation, when we sit to do this, this happens for a moment. The mind cooperates, then the mind goes back to nonsense and we have to struggle again. Then we struggle, then the mind again gives us a break. Okay? In other words, this guy works 9 to 5 all the time. This is a guy who, for some reason, the company gives him a bonus. But he goes to Hawaii for 2 weeks and bonus done. He comes back, he has to work again. But here, it stays on. This is the big CEO. He can go to Hawaii for a year, it doesn't bother him. His money is still being made on the stock exchange. So this is long focus. This is not a cheap thing. Everybody likes to say, oh, I was in Samadhi. They're lying. It does not happen like that. It takes years of meditation with these two struggling for this to happen. It does not happen just because you sit down. Either people don't know what this word means or they're cheating. Either way. So this is meditation, right? These three processes. Now, what is the value of the breath infusion? This is where the breath infusion is important. The value of the breath infusion is that it gives you that fifth stage. It makes a contribution. In other words, the fifth stage, which is pratyahara, this is like getting a big scholarship from Smithsonian that's going to fund your education all the way through the master's degree. You don't have to do nothing, they're going to pay for it. When you do the breath infusion, you get this free. If you don't do the breath infusion, you will have to struggle to attain this in meditation. You will spend hours fighting your mind. The breath infusion gives you this, not necessarily the whole thing. Some days, if you get a good session, you find that it gives you the whole process free. And some days it might give you like 75% of your money that you need. So this is the value of pratyahara. And if this pratyahara is done good, then you wouldn't have to waste time focusing the dhyan. Or if you do, you'll just do it for a minute and it'll stay on. You do this and it jumps to this and stays on. This is a separate issue. This takes long meditation for 10 years. Just stick with these two guys here. So this is basically what we are teaching. Now I will go into some other details. I've given you the sketch, I will go into some other details. Okay, this is a basic outline of the components of the psyche. In the head of the soul body, we've got the Atma, which is represented as the X, surrounded by the sense of identity. Atma is, I've translated that roughly to mean the core self. It is surrounded by the sense of identity, which I translated from the Sanskrit ahankar. We've got the intellect, which is the thing that does the calculation, imagination, visualization, memory, visions. And in the back of the head, we have not sound. So this is your basic head diagram. Unfortunately, there's other problems. We've got memories coming up here. These memories are stored down into the chest of the body. And we also have the Kundalini interference coming up here and doing things. So this is a basic outline. This fellow, we take care of him by doing the breath infusion. He's a big problem, this Kundalini, a huge headache. So the way to whip him into shape is by doing pranayama practice. That is the method. Refusal and laziness to do pranayama gives you inability to deal with this. Yes, you sit and meditate, but he's down here doing his nonsense while you meditate, interfering and planning nonsense. So to whip him into shape, you control his vital his staple, which is the breath. The life force, you say, well, okay, I live on food. Really? Well, you only get food twice a day, but breath, you have to get it every so many seconds. So this guy lives on breath. So we can get to him by doing breath infusion. So that's how we take care of this. Okay, so let's get rid of this, because when you do the breath infusion, this guy is taken care of to some degree. We're still left with the memories. Memories from this life. Memories from past lives, which we can't understand because we don't have the cultural means to interpret that those impressions, those samskars in the mind. So it still comes up. Our memories from past lives still come, but we can't. They're not coherent. We can't put it into place. But we're being disturbed by memories from this life, memories from our past lives. These memories are coming up. When they come up, their main objective is to go to this booty here and create pictures, ideas to attract our attention. This is like a theater. This is like your big screen TV. In your mind, you're watching this big screen all the time. It occurs here at the intellect. Chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita focuses on Buddhi Yoga. Some people say, no, it's the same as Bhakti Yoga. Well, Krishna is so stupid, right? That he's going to confuse the two words, Buddhi with Bhakti. No, it's actually, if you read the chapter and if you understand this, you will be able to make sense of what Krishna is saying. That there is a practice, particularly in yoga, to curb this thing. This is a problematic thing. And Patanjali has listed it as one of the vrittis. As one of the factors in the vrittis. He's listed, actually, the vrittis he has listed are correct reasoning, incorrect reasoning, he has listed imagination, he's listed memory, and he's listed sleep. These are the 5 vrittis that Patanjali has given us. In a way, it's easy for us because these 3 things up here are done by this one thing called the buddhi. So if we get this buddhi whipped, we've got that licked. We're still stuck though with memories and sleep. Luckily, memories don't have no power unless the buddhi converts them into images. So in a sense, we can, even though the memory is a different thing, we can put it together here and knock it out. The only problem we got left is sleep. The thing about sleep is you can't get rid of it. Even the cosmic God has to go to sleep. So that tells you right there, you're stuck with that thing. Therefore, the question is regulating it in our interest. When we're meditating, we don't want to have the sleep influence around. For the time when you're doing the proper meditation, you don't want the sleep influence. And to deal with that, you have to, again, deal with the Kundalini, with pranayama. By giving the Kundalini that good amount of prana, stuffing that into the system, getting Kundalini out of the lower gunas, out of Rajgun, Tamagun, we eliminate this sleep during meditation. Problem solved. So that's how we get rid of these things here. So this guy in Patanjali says you have to get rid of these 5 vrittis. First thing Patanjali declares is yogaha chitta vritti nirodha, that you have to suppress the vrittis. Then in some verses after, he tells you what these vrittis are. He doesn't leave it open to me to tell you what it is. He lists the 5 things here. So these 4 of that 5 concern this buddhi. So if you shut this thing down, you kill these things and you're only left with this. But if you're ready in your meditation, if before meditation you did the pranayama practice, the breath infusion, this is gone. So let's wipe that out. So in meditation, you will be struggling with these things. The reasoning, the correct reasoning and the incorrect reasoning are easy to handle. And how will they become easy to handle? Well, nobody wants to have a mind that miscalculates. I want to have a good mind because if I need to make money in a stock exchange, I want to be able to figure that out properly. If I need to get a raise at my job, I want to figure it out. If I need to pass the exam, I want to figure it correctly. So incorrect reasoning is something that's easy to pin down if you have a productive intellect. Correct reasoning is hard to get rid of because I found it's useful to me. Why should I get rid of correct reasoning? But Patanjali says, yes, you must get rid of it if you want to come in my class. If you want to do yoga, you must get rid of it. It's not that we're throwing this away forever, but when we're doing a meditation, we want to put that down. Don't go in the lab with that thing. The professor says, no, don't do it. So that's how you get rid of these 2 things. You put them down during the meditation. You're going to have to pick them up. The next thing is imagination. And the next thing is memory. Memory comes into the mind. Memories are stored in the subconscious, are released from it like bubbles in the bottom of a pond. A bubble comes up, and as it comes up, it enlarges. And when it hits the surface, it bursts out. This is exactly what happens. These things come up from the subconscious, and when they hit this thing, they burst out in a picture, and you're looking at your big screen TV. You've seen that memory from yesterday or from last year or whatever. Imagination means a deliberate construction of an idea. It's not a memory, it's just something I come up with. In other words, I sit down and I draw a house that looks like basketball. Nobody else has that house. I'm crazy. I draw a house like that. My friend sits down, he draws a house that looks like the Capitol in Washington, D.C. When he does that, that is called imagination. There's different types of imagination, but still it's the same thing. One imagination is based on memory, and one imagination seems to be fresh. Looks like this guy is a genius. He's come with something nobody has come with before. So this intellect does this, and you have to shut it down. Patanjali says nirodha. It's a very interesting term. Why did he say this term? What was the point of that term? Certain basic Sanskrit words we should use and we should understand because it helps us to get to the meat of this thing. This term is easy to understand. Krishna had a son, his name was Aniruddha. And Aniruddha, water, he jumps into the water. This is his own way. But Patanjali, when you take that A off, you end up with Nirodha. It means checking, completely checking. This is the kind of boy where when you says don't do it, he doesn't do it. He's not own way, he's not impulsive. So Patanjali is saying that this intellect has to be shut down. Stop the operations of the intellect. Do not allow the intellect to imagine shit when you're meditating. Don't let it do it. Don't let it take up. These memories come up, they burst. Don't let it do it. So how are you going to control this? My whole life, my mind's been doing whatever it wanted. Now Guruji says, control the mind. Well, you don't directly control it. You can't. The thing has its own operation. It's like a computer. The only way you can control a computer is to go and maybe pull the breaker. If you sit in front of it, the thing has its own circuit boards and it has its CPU, central processing unit. It's got internet signals coming. It's doing stuff there all the time, whether you think it's doing it or not. So to stop it, you have to stop the connection with it. Pull the plug on it. This Atma, with its sense of identity, has to move away from this thing. If you move back into Nod, you're going to find that this thing shuts down. This thing feeds on energy. The closer you get to it, the more you're interested in it. Any curiosity about anything it does, it takes power from the Atma to run these operations, which Patanjali has told us to shut down. So that's a lot of work in meditation for you to do. Because you're going to find, the first thing you're going to find is that what I'm saying is not true. You're going to find is you can't move away from it. Try it. You try it and see what happens. It's just like in the airport, the woman's got a little boy with him. And she wants to get away from him and he's holding on to her pants or her skirt and he's pulling. She can't get rid of that boy. She's stuck with him. What's she going to do? He's bad behaved, but she still has to take him. So this is what happens when you first begin to meditate. You cannot separate yourself from this intellect. In fact, most people who begin to meditate tell me that they are the intellect. They don't say, my intellect was thinking of a house. They say, I was thinking of a house. So why is that? Because as we are, these things are tightly linked. It's like when I try to move one finger, the whole hand moves. I just want to move this finger, but this guy, he thinks he has to move too. Stop. Okay? So in meditation, you got a lot of work to do. Until you get this stuff separated out in your head and you keep this intellect shut it down, you have to figure a way that you can disempower this thing. You have to pull the plug in this computer, take the battery out of it and shut it down. The screen turns black. It can't turn on. So I can ask a student, what is your method? You shouldn't meditate? You separated that thing? Student doesn't know. What is your method? What have you done to separate these two things? Have you moved this Atma back into Nod? And how do you shut this thing down so it does not do anything? Because this was Patanjali's saying. Yes, there's many other things. When you get into chapter 3, I think it's chapter 2, I think, 2 or 3, Patanjali talks about Samyam towards several things. He gives a list. He talks about Samyam to the sun, Samyam to the moon, Samyam to this, Samyam to that. There's a whole sequence. Why does he say that? People say meditation is oneness. Patanjali doesn't say that. It's not one single verse. Not one single verse where he used the word Eka. None. Or Advaita. So what is the verse that they make a fuss about? What is the Sanskrit word? Here's the word. It comes in 2 forms in Sanskrit. Basically, these are the same words. Kaivalya and Kaivalya. They have translated these words to mean oneness. And they try to say that's what Patanjali is saying. I don't know what they mean by oneness. If they mean by oneness, one dash ness, which is the number 1, and it means alone, then I might agree with them. If they're talking about the Atma being alone by itself without the intellect, freed from the dominance of the intellect, then I will agree with them. But if they're telling me that they're becoming the universe, that's total nonsense. It's not going to happen, okay? There's already somebody whose mind is the universe. You're not going to go and kick him out and just sit there and say you're now there. That's not going to happen. So Kaivalya, aloneness is really what it means. It means when the Atma is alone. And Patanjali describes this by saying that in the beginning, there's two stages he gives of this Kaivalya. The first stage is the Atma, or the seer, actually is a better word for the term he uses in Sanskrit. The seer, or in English we would say the observer, is separated from the equipments, the perception equipments. This is the first stage. This observer becomes separate from the perception equipments offered by nature. This becomes separate from this intellect. This is the first stage of Kaivalya. What is the second stage, Patanjali? This is very interesting. The exact same thing in the second stage. This same observer now becomes unified with the perception equipment. But it's purified now. So first, there has to be a complete separation between the Atma and the intellect. And when this intellect has been whipped into shape, and it has become an insight perception thing, it gives supernatural and spiritual perception. Then you can unify with it again. This is all having to do with who? One person, not the whole universe. This one individual. Because he is worked and separated. When you separate the Atma from the perception equipments, which is basically the intellect, this thing becomes reformed. You get power over it. It stops going to the lower prakriti, the mundane energy in the lower astral worlds. And then you get a higher perception. So this is one. This Atma as one thing. Are there any questions? This is just a basic layout of the work we have to do if we want to be successful yogis.
Thank you very much. It's